a motion to start the meeting?
We can just start once you say that. So
okay, let's go ahead and start the meeting. We'll go through the standard agenda. Should I do roll call?
Yeah, I'll do roll call.
Okay.
Baker?
Here.
Henkel?
Here.
Key?
Here.
Merrill?
Frank, he's here.
Frank, you're here. Robertson, she's excused.
Sorry, I was muted, sorry.
Robertson is out sick today.
And then Robinson.
Here.
And Timpson.
Here.
And then Rick, he's been on meetings since 4 o'clock, so I don't see him on here. So he might not be making it, or he might be eating dinner. And then I'm here.
Okay. Great. Okay. Next section, number 2, public comments. For items not on the agenda, I don't think we have any members of the public here, or maybe we do actually. No, we don't. Okay. If we don't have any public comments, we'll move on to section number 3, approval of the minutes from the last meeting. I reviewed them. I don't have any comments as I was not in the meeting last time. So
I updated the minutes with Alex and Walt's comments. So we can approve them.
So moved.
Okay, you can make a motion to approve them as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
okay. The next item up is a presentation by Cassidy Robinson, the Holbrook Palmer Park event manager with Cater 2. Welcome, Cassidy. You can take yourself off mute, and Sally can give you control of the screen.
Oh yeah, let me.
Hi. How is everyone tonight?
Great. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you. I just put together some kind of brief bullet notes just regarding how everything's going at Holbrook so far. So thank you for inviting me to the meeting so we can discuss. I think everything's been going quite well. With summer ending, moving into the winter months, we'll definitely see a slowdown. Just events are usually slower in this time of year, but people are already starting to pre-book for next spring and summer. So that's a really good sign. And I think the transition to bring Catered 2 on board went really smoothly as well. So pretty exciting to see what the next year, next summer will look like. Sally had given me a couple bullet notes to just touch on. One of them was if there is any problems with logistics like storage, power, maintenance of the facilities. Storage, power, all of that, everything seems to be working really well. Most of the things that came up were things like the door locks or, some light bulbs are out, something like that. But maintenance has been really on top of fixing any of those issues. And so that all has been cleared up pretty much from that. The only thing that I would maybe long-term look at as a project would be maybe getting some lighting for outside. It tends to get really, really dark at the end of events. So when we're trying to clean up, when guests are leaving, walking, through those pathways, sometimes it can be really, really dark, which, it could be a safety hazard, and it's just overall, it's just a little difficult. So that would be something maybe to touch on for a future project.
Yeah, regarding the lighting, if you grab a map of the park at all and you want to just highlight where you think lighting should go or where we need more lighting,
Okay.
That's something this committee would be happy to look over and follow through with.
Okay, awesome. That would be amazing. I'll work on that probably within the next couple weeks or so. I have some events that are at the night in nighttime. So it's nice to get an idea of, where people are coming in and out in those high traffic ways that would be needed for that. So thank you.
Yeah, we can even do temporary, just put out some holiday lights, just some white lights on the bushes. We can just do something simple. So.
Okay, awesome. That would be great.
Sally, are the new parking lights working now? Because I think they're brighter than the old ones. Not yet.
So they're not working yet. The parts are still coming in. The Public Works Director sent them an email actually tonight asking for an update.
Okay.
No, tomorrow when they're just waiting for this one part for all the lights and then they can. Because they're all installed, we're just, yeah.
We've seen them there, and then want to see them working, and then we'll see how that works for Cassidy and Peter
Yeah.
too after they're
Yeah,
all
the new parking lot lights, I'm assuming will be great because the other ones were pretty dull.
Yeah.
But that's been a work in progress. And I think that it looks like everything's in there, just hasn't been quite turned on yet.
Okay.
Let's see. But yeah, I was going to mention, everything with the day use permits and facility rentals, that all seems to work together really well. So I haven't had any, problems with any of like the reservation areas or anything like that, which is awesome. But overall, I think, all of the guests at the park have been very respectful to any of the active events. So that's also been a great thing to see as well. I've seen quite a few day use permits within the last month or so, which I thought is great, especially for the winter months. I figured it would probably slow down a little bit because it's colder and, a little bit rainy and things like that. So that's always been a good thing too, as well. I was also going to mention the parking with the portable offices now removed. It looks like we have that additional parking lot there. So I think that should help with any of the parking troubles, or at least reduce some of the parking troubles. I haven't seen too many parking issues. I think it's always been encouraged to carpool or ride share when going to private events. So I haven't seen too many parking issues, but I think that removing those portable offices, I think that will be an additional help as well.
And the pod that is still there, that will be removed at some point. We're just waiting for them to pick it up.
Okay.
Just because parking has always been an issue. Pre-COVID, it was a major issue in the park. We are going to change the parking structure at the exit. So right now, because of the trailers, people could diagonally park on the mulch in between the trees. We're actually going to change that back to just parking along the road.
Okay.
Just an FYI.
But
Yeah.
Sally, are we changing that before we do the work that we've commissioned for the whole circulation area?
Yeah, I mean, that's not really, we don't really have to do anything for that. MC just has to remove some of the non-permanent lines.
No, I know that, but the reason for the question is once we begin the work on the circulation area, I think that takes out one of those parking lots because we're going to do a bunch of work around it and on it.
Oh, yeah.
And we may want to preserve that parking on the exit. It just needs to be part of the balance in terms of how we manage that project.
Yeah, once that, we'll have to manage it because then when they're working on the exit, it will take away we'll just be doing a lot of parking.
Yeah, that's right.
Will the construction workers park at the park or are they parking somewhere else? Because then they'll take up some parking after removing the parking lot.
I haven't thought about that, but we should, right now we have very limited parking at the Civic Center because it's very tight, but I'm assuming we'll have more parking once it's fully open and maybe we could have a designated few spots for the contractors at the Civic Center, but.
You mean at the park?
She's saying that the workers at the park doing the circulation work might be able to park at the Civic Center as the parking opens up at the Civic Center.
Okay.
But I think you guys should have a staff discussion about that, Sally. That whole issue about the work in the park and when the park, we've got work to do at the Civic Center on that Caltrain parking. There's a whole bunch of, you guys should talk about it. And
okay.
Work that out. Cassidy, I have a question, which is how, in terms of the catering, our contract is that you have the exclusive right on the catering. How is that going in your contracting, and what's your perspective on that in general?
I think it's been actually quite nice. It gives the clients one less thing to think about. I haven't run into any trouble with that. If anything, it's been kind of nice for the clients not to have to go out and find a new caterer and, look for other vendors, which I think has worked really well. A lot of the events when I first got brought on were pre-booked. So they had outside caterers. And so that was also something that was really nice to see, because you kind of get to see the different troubles that each caterer goes through with the location. So I think personally it's been great. And with the events that we have booked and the events that we've already gone through with, I think everyone's been pretty happy with it.
Good, great.
Cassidy, could you remind us of what that limitation is? It's catering below a certain amount or above a certain amount of people. What's the actual provision?
Yeah, so right now it's anything over 50 people that we are doing catering for. We've had some events where, I've had one event where they said, well, hey, would you mind just coming in and helping us set up tables and chairs? Because the client didn't want to have to do that. And it was a smaller group. So we were able to bring our staff in, do the table setup, things like that. And it was easy. So it's a nice kind of combination of being able to help with what the client wants and also, being the exclusive caterer as well.
How about on the other end? How about if you're planning for larger events, such as a wedding reception or wedding and wedding reception? From my experience, having two daughters, they would be a little perturbed at being told, here's your caterer.
Yeah, I haven't run into that problem yet. I'm sure it will come in years to come. But I think that, Cater 2 has been in this business for a long time, and they're quite comfortable with, any cuisine, any style, anything like that. And so when we do walkthroughs, we haven't received a lot of dialogue that they'd rather use someone else. Now, if someone does want to use an outside caterer, it's something that, we had discussed as a team, that we're open to it, but we would have to decide if it's a portion of the food sales or something like that, that they would also pay back or something like that, some kind of something that we would have in writing to be compensated for that time as well, because we're still considered the exclusive caterer.
Can they bring in their own wedding cake even under those circumstances?
They could, even if we're catering, if someone wants to bring in their own wedding cake, that's totally fine. But that would be something, that would have to go on the contract, because we'd still have to have the staff there to cut the cake and plate the cake and all of that. So
Sure.
It's kind of that gray area in between.
And how much time do you actually spend at the park?
When I first got brought on, I spent a lot more time there than I thought I was going to. I tried to, what I originally planned was 2 to 3 days a week there. But right now it's, sometimes I'm there 4 days a week. Sometimes I'll take a half day there, half day back at the other office. So really it's when I'm needed there. I like to be available there for, if anyone is walking by and wants to see a venue, things like that. But yeah, I'd say probably about half the week I spend there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you need in terms of more storage or more access to space or a place to camp out during the day? Do you have access to one of the offices?
Yeah, so I've been in the main house. That
Okay.
office upstairs is it's been great. It's worked really nicely. They were able to set me up a PC in that office as well. So I'm able to access all the drives and things like that that's necessary for the paperwork, which has been really helpful. In terms of storage, things like that, everything's pretty well situated. I think just having all the tables and chairs stored in their designated locations really helps a lot when it comes to the events, because I know exactly what's going to be in each closet, where it's at, and how to get it. So I think all of that's really well organized.
Okay, great.
How,
And when we look at the revenue, what lines is your contribution? We see social fees, meeting fees, weddings, park day use, and class fees. Is that all under your jurisdiction?
So I'm not sure I understand.
I can try to help answer. So, most of those are under her jurisdiction for booking, but those are all the fees the town's receiving because Catered To gets the applicants are just paying them directly for catering. They're not paying the town for it. So those are just the fees that the town charges for booking the events, the rental fees and the class fees and the meeting fees. That's the cost that we have posted on our fee schedule. Those are the fees we're getting. So she oversees all those, but none of those fees goes to Catered To because they're just getting the fees from the catering, which goes directly to them. We don't get that money and then pass it to Cassidy.
Sure, but the question is it their jurisdiction to encourage people to do this? If I look at the budget, we are budgeting way under what we did last year during the height of COVID. And we're, of course, much farther behind what we did 2019 to 2020. The budget is less than half. So I just wondered, what is the plan to try to get it back to where our revenue was anywhere near what it was before? Or am I misreading the budget?
No, I mean, in some areas, like weddings were at 72%. So technically we would be around 35%. So social fees is at 290%. But yes, meeting fees is at 0%. And miscellaneous park fees, some of the areas are down. So the question would be, is Catered To trying to promote these things?
Right.
Yeah.
When I see those percentages, is that the percent of the yearly budget since we've barely had half a year now? Or does that mean it's prorated over the time period?
That's the percentage of the revenue that we've received. That's up to date. So
No. The question is, for instance, when I see here that the budget for weddings is $20,000 of revenue that we're budgeting. Actual is $14,359, but that's for 2021, which is already passed. Our fiscal year now is 21-22, right?
Yep.
So this doesn't really tell me anything, does it?
Well,
this is from July.
That might be a misprint. It probably should be 21 through 22. That would be my guess.
Yeah, that I'm gonna check with finance, but yes, that should say 21-22.
Okay. So then it shows for 21-22 that our weddings are now, where they used to be $40,000 before COVID, now we're budgeted at $20,000. So yes, we're at 72%, but that doesn't tell us very much compared to where we were before. I would suggest that in fact, it shows that, we're way under what, and I don't know where the budget came from, but clearly we've got work ahead of us here if we're going to get anywhere near back to the revenues that we had before.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did the budget numbers come from here?
Those numbers come from finance, but I can try to find out where they're getting them. I think they just look at all the years and.
I think they're historical mostly.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're certainly not historic as far as any numbers that I see there. They're lower than anything else dramatically. If you ran the last 3 years, you would never say that social fees are $15,000 compared to what looks like an average of about 80.
I was saying that up until this year, they were always based on historical. I have no idea where they came up with these budget numbers for 21-22.
So I think what they're trying to do is budget it low so that we can come up with the money in case there's a deficit. So they don't want to budget high numbers in case we're not getting the revenue. Still kind of we're not at a 100% capacity based on COVID. And so they didn't want to budget $87,000 for social fees if we're not going to receive 87,000, because they want to find the money in other places so we can fund the park.
Okay, well, that's actually not the point. The point is during COVID last year, it was $68,000 was our budget. And this year it's 15,000 for that social fees. So there's some explanation, and we're now at 43, patting ourselves on the back as being up 290%. But if we had a realistic number there, it would appear for 21, 22, it would not be anything like that.
Yeah,
So, what I'll do is I can find the actual 2020, 21, because we don't see what actually was our revenue.
Right.
Yeah.
So it might be that it wasn't near 68,000, and that's why they did that. So I will see in the next report if they can add the actual.
Thank you. So that was a very long introduction, Cassidy, to what are the actual marketing efforts that are done for these various categories?
Yes. So there are a lot of like wedding websites, wedding wire, tie the knot, things like that, that I have set up meetings with to kind of go over their protocol, what they offer, things like that. So we're in the works of looking at some of those websites that can help promote the park that way. Also, you know, briefly wanted to like just kind of think about maybe starting some kind of social media for the park. I know that would obviously want to be probably run through the city or have city approval before all of those posts or something like that. But just some ideas that we've kind of started to work with in order to get more eyes on the park and kind of bring the attention back there.
How about on the city website? If somebody in Atherton goes on the website thinking they want to have a meeting over there, you know, I've been to things in past years where a teacher's retiring, and so we have a party over there. How do they see that on the website, or how would they find that, not a wedding?
Yeah, so on the City of Atherton website, there's actually a fees and rentals page. So that is pretty much right there on when you open up that page. And so they're able to see that. They can see a breakdown of the day use permits, each facility, and the cost depending on day and hours. So it is on the website there.
Okay, thank you.
Are prices competitive with other similar venues, Cassidy? I guess it's kind of a broad question because we have, I guess, 3 main buildings people can rent, and then we also have the outdoor areas. But I want to get your sense of, is it kind of, are we priced too high? Are we priced too low? Or are we priced just about right?
I would say if out of the research that I've done for similar venues, which I mean, Holbrook is pretty unique in itself that it is a park, a public park, and then you have these beautiful venues on site. So it's a little different than, it's not an easy Google search, so to speak. But from what I've seen, you know, it's pretty competitively priced. I actually was just looking at, let me pull this up here. Like the Women's Club in Palo Alto, they have a flat rate for a Saturday from 9 a.m. to midnight, and their cost is like $4,000 for the entire day. So I would think that our Saturday prices, you know, something like the pavilion for that time period, it's right around that area there too. So I think we're pretty competitively priced as far as the pricing goes on for venues.
Is our pricing too complicated, or is it kind of part of the course? I know we have a lot of different bands, and then we have the add this amount of fee so that you can calculate your real price, and it's not a round number either.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not the most user-friendly thing to look at when you're like on the website and you're saying, oh, okay, I want to have the main house on whatever day. It's not the easiest to read, but once you break it down and if you're talking with someone, it's easy to explain. So that might be something maybe to work on the website or maybe make an adjustment there. But it's not overly complicated, no.
Okay. But what my concern is that people don't have a good idea before they talk to you. They need to talk to you in order to get an idea, which makes it kind of complicated because they can't just look at it and see, yeah, there's a lot of work. Maybe I'll move on ask someone else, or it takes up your time when it shouldn't, when it could be simpler if we just simplify the pricing. Because one of the things I've been thinking of working on, wanted to work on this fiscal year was kind of justify some of the pricing in terms of just the complication, because we do have a lot of bands. We don't have round numbers. People have to calculate, do I add 15% or do I add 30%?
Yeah,
And then it's a little,
it can be kind of complicated.
not user friendly. So I thought, like, if we really want people to use the venue, then we have to do probably something like what the Women's Club does and have, at least, we could probably still keep 2 prices for Saturday if we want,
Right.
but just have a flat rate, as simple as possible. Yeah.
I think that would make it just a little bit easier to look at that number.
Yeah.
And it doesn't scare the client away,
Okay.
to say, oh, maybe I'm not sure, is this how much it's going to cost or whatnot. I would be happy to work with you if you need any help with that, if you wanted to make any of those adjustments. So please just let me know if there's anything I can do, or if that is going to, if you want to start that. But yeah, let me know. I think it might be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to work on this for the next few months. Although I'll get some direction from Rick in terms of how far I should go in this analysis, because it can be a bit when you get into the changing the pricing, it can change the revenue numbers more significantly. But I think just the simplifying part is pretty clear. Everyone thinks that's a good idea. Yeah.
Well, I think understanding Cassidy's experience is very, very important on this, because she's talking to people about the pricing all the time. And to the extent that there's either confusion or, difficulty with respect to any of the pricing, because it's either overpriced or underpriced or too complicated. I think, Alex, you need to really understand Cassie's experience.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I mean, I think that we'd be very hesitant to sort of impose, our assumptions on this when we have somebody who's directly involved in those conversations with the renters. They're the ones that their feedback is critical.
Yeah, and I'm sure Cassidy has much better feel for a comparable local venues that are like each of the different places to rent in Holbrook Palmer, and she could give a better idea whether it's competitively priced or something off, about too low or too high. But yeah,
I will say, Cassidy, the one thing that I think that we think both from the Park and Rec Committee and from the council is that the event garden needs some serious work. But we can really upgrade the look of the event garden. And as we move away from being totally focused on the new town center, which has been our focus for the last 3 or 4 years, we're going to pay a lot more attention to Holbrook Palmer Park. And certainly initiating that with this whole circulation plan, which is the biggest set of changes that have ever been made in the park and at one time. I think it's really good that we're going to give that attention, and that the event garden needs that attention.
Absolutely.
Can I ask you, are there any specifics? I mean, I have to admit that during COVID and my own physical problems, I didn't get there too often, but can I ask you what you're thinking as far as improvements there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main one, kind of briefly touched on before, would just be lighting, is like the first one that comes to mind. As far as the outdoor space itself, maintenance has done a really great job of all of that upkeep, keeping all the lawns mowed, things like that. But, there's like the big empty cement planters that are outside the pavilion, maybe some lighting in the trees or something like that to give it kind of a more of a ambiance at night. Some of the lighted pathways. There's little things that could definitely be improved. Carpeting inside the main house and the pavilion is a little outdated, things like that. But I think while still trying to keep the historical side of it as well, it's just trying to be respectful of all things.
Cassidy, this is Matt. Feel free to make lists of things like that that you see and that you need. That's something that this committee would definitely get behind helping you with.
Okay.
I had one other question as well regarding the pricing. Feel free to, I'm looking at the pricing right now online and it's, very complicated. I'm very confused by reading it. If, just breaking it down into 2 columns, Atherton residents and non-residents, with all the fees included would definitely start making the numbers look a little bit more digestible and not as surprising. If you want to propose simplifying that as well, we can work with that as the committee and then run the numbers to make sure we're not, losing money in one place and gaining more in another, or just simplifying it across the board. And, if it's $600 an hour, all fees included, for every hour. I'm sure there's historical reasons why the pricing is like this, but it's probably lost over time. So feel free to propose things like that and we can make this much easier for you as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Really quick question, Cassidy. Have you noticed any difference with people who want to book the park or hold it, versus customers who are under 50 people or so who you're not holding the park or anything for larger events and efforts to cater more than the people who just want to use the park for smaller events? Has anything like that come up yet?
No, it's been really a first come, first serve
Okay.
type of reservation system. Even when I'm getting inquiries, just, through email, I can put a pending hold on the calendar. So when someone else says, hey, I want to book this date, I can say, okay, well, I have a pending one. Let me double check with them first. If they're not ready to book and put a deposit down, then I'm going to go with whoever's ready to put the deposit down first. It's kind of the way that I've deemed it fair for everyone. Just
sure.
As soon as you put that security deposit down, then, we're ready to work with you. But if you're not ready to do that, then we have to go with who is.
Yep. And let us know too, if that security deposit is too high or too low.
Yeah, I think that's, I think that's fair, just in relevance to the rental fees. So I think that ratio is probably fair.
Okay, great.
One question for either Cassidy and or Sally. In terms of some of the outdoor venues and uses like photographers and drones and some of the picnic areas in which people are hosting an event, how is compliance going in terms of, are people complying when they need a photography permit, when they need a drone permit or day use permit, or are they not complying and then we're assessing a fee, or is the penalty too low? Because for some of these, it seems like the penalty is the same as the actual rental. So it's kind of like, well, once you catch me, it's the same price. So, I'm just curious about that, if that needs to be adjusted as well.
So on the weekends, basically Andre is in the park. His position is actually not to oversee and enforce the rules. He's there in the park to do maintenance, but because we have a lot of data use, he does collect fees for new parties that are there on the weekends. He does go up to them and ask them for the money if they haven't pre-booked the site and it's available. So on Monday, I usually get the receipts for that. He did a lot of enforcing during COVID, but that didn't really work out very well. I got a lot of complaints. And so we're kind of light on the enforcement. And the police department doesn't want to enforce any of the rules, and we don't issue fines because there's nobody to issue fines.
Okay.
So
that's day use. What about photography and drones?
So I know Andre, if he does see somebody that's like, he doesn't go around looking for these things, because he does have a list of things to do on the weekend, in the park. But if he does see somebody using a drone or photography, he will confront them and either ask them to leave or pay the fee. A lot of people don't know they need to pay a fee for photography. I mean, if it's a family taking photos, that's one thing, but it's pretty obvious when somebody's taking professional photos.
Yeah.
What is the fee for photography in the park?
It's 120 for non-Atherton residents and 90 for Atherton residents, I believe.
Okay.
Actually,
And,
no, I'm sorry. It's 120 all around for photography.
yeah. Sally,
I just
what's
want to say
the,
one, yeah,
what's the
I just want
background
to say-
of that?
Sorry.
Sorry.
So I'm sure some of the, not the drone, but I'm sure maybe if once in a while things fall through the cracks because we don't really have a person that's there enforcing during the weekends because he's the only.
Well, I know we have signs for no drones and that makes a lot of sense, but for photography in the park, is that a big revenue generator for the park or is it something that we can just get rid of altogether?
I don't think we necessarily want to get rid of it, but I mean, we can. I don't think we really get any. It's more just, I think people just think drones aren't allowed in the park or the town has hired somebody to use drones.
Yeah, you can do commercial. I think you can do
Yeah.
commercial, just not personal drones. So but you can, I think I saw on the park page, you can pay to use commercial drones in the park if you want.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
no, I could definitely see a permit for using a commercial drone in the park, but I'm just trying to understand the background of why we charge a photographer to take photographs in the park.
Yeah,
So I know that other places, other parks and other venues charge people to take professional photography.
Uh-oh.
So I think it just falls into the line of that. I didn't want to have, I'm making assumptions, but I'm assuming that we just didn't want a lot of professional photographers overcrowding the park on the weekends in special areas that we want park users to use. So I think by having them pay a fee, we don't get 50 photographers wanting to use the park.
Okay.
Yeah,
you know what? I personally think it's okay for people to have, they've already paid to get married there or whatever the purpose is, to have people take pictures of that event. And part of the pictures would be a professional photographer. So I'm not sure that there should be, in my own mind, I don't think there should be an extra fee for that.
So we're talking about, it's not the day of if you're having an event there, you can take photos. This is for people that are maybe taking their engagement photos, that they haven't booked an event, their birthday photos are just
Family Christmas card or something like that.
family Christmas card. This is for people who have not booked an event that just come during the day to take photos.
yeah, then it makes a little more sense why
Yes.
it's not really to collect revenue, but to, one, not ensure you don't get overrun by photographers, and then two, not to have to deal with pushy photographers. Because if, people are saying, hey, get out of my frame or whatever, and they're all over the place. You've got public users who can't really use the park because they're always running into some photographer. And that way they stay discreet, if you will. they don't want to attract too much attention, because then maybe someone will ask them, where's your permit? And then, if they don't have one, then they've got a problem.
Yeah, I don't want to take this too much with Cassidy's time, but Cassidy, if you find an issue with the permits for photographers, please let us know. Maybe we can make a discussion item, team, that we can talk about the photography use permit in the park in general. I kind of see a photographer coming in, using the park, taking photos, enjoying the park, and then calling Cassidy later and saying, well, we love the park so much, now we want to book an event here. Instead of being tracked down by a maintenance guy, asked for a $120 use fee to take a photograph. Just bad user experience. And our enforcement is pretty weak. And we actually have no signage up in the park anywhere that says, that you need to pay a fee to take some photographs if you're a professional. And I don't like adding more signs. So
Yeah, no more signs.
So we'll bring this up as a topic maybe for another meeting. But Cassidy, please let us know if things come up like that are just bizarre experiences for people. And you're kind of our eyes and ears in the park now. So
Absolutely.
we can make it a great place for everybody.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, anything else, Cassidy, that you'd like to present?
I think that was it. Just really excited for 2022 and all of the events next spring and summer, I think will be great. So yeah, should be a good year.
Great, thank you. Okay, we can be moving on to, or is there any other conversations from anyone on the committee about Cassidy's presentation? Nope. Okay, moving on to section 5, updates. This is the regular agenda, updates and prioritized park projects and goals. Number 1, the carriage house and bathroom model. Mary Lou and I met last year. We looked at the bathrooms. Yes, they need to be redone. Sally, I believe you have an update regarding architect are being requested.
Yeah, we're gonna be meeting with me and Robert are gonna meet with the architects tomorrow to finalize the contract. But in the meantime, we will need suggestions from Mary Lou on fixture. Somebody's mic is still on.
That's Mary
Yeah,
Lou.
it's Mary Lou.
Anyway,
Mary Lou, put it on mute.
In the meantime, we will need, I think I sent you guys a list of items that I would like your feedback on. So once you start compiling that, we can bring it to a Park and Rec meeting and just get final recommendation, and then we can send that off to the architects. They're gonna want to put that into their package.
Great.
Okay. So I don't really have an update that the contract has gone through, but yeah, so.
Okay, thank you. The next one up is the circulation plan.
I don't have an update on the circulation plan. Does Rick, do you have any update?
No.
Okay.
Are we on track to have the bid documents done by the end of the fiscal year?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming we will.
I keep asking about it.
It's nothing that we can do, right? I guess the committee, but
All we can do is ask.
okay, fair enough.
Updated a pricing of rental venues. Alex, we kind of went over that, I guess, already.
Yeah. I'll put together some. I guess I'll reach out to Cassidy sometime in the coming 1 to 2 weeks, kind of with some questions just about the pricing and things like that. But one thing I know I'll want to do, it seems like a problem, is the number of bands and maybe make it easier for people to calculate a price than what's currently there. I know also that this committee had discussed getting round numbers when they calculate the price, rather than some 49, 52, 23 cents or something like that. So I'll try to come up with some basic reasonable proposal, and I'll talk with Cassie about it, see if I'm on the right track or not. Then maybe come back in January or February with something to propose to everyone.
Yeah, if the
Alex,
prices
I'd like to
don't
join
even
you on
change
that
too
if
much.
that's okay.
Oh, go ahead.
What's that, Taylor?
I'd like to join you on that if that's okay.
Oh,
If you
excellent.
select the
Yes,
person.
yes. So Sally, if you can send out the 3 of our emails, Taylor, mine, and Cassidy, and then we will all kind of work together on that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sally.
Okay.
And thanks, Taylor, for coming and pitching in.
Yeah, I would love to see 2 columns, Atherton pricing, resident, non-resident, and just maybe a couple extra numbers at the bottom that you can easily add up and come up with an easy fee.
There's a spreadsheet that shows that.
Yeah, on the website, it just gets a little more complicated how it's laid out. The last part here, update on the building signage. I haven't done any updates on it yet, but I'll talk to Julie about it next week. Cassidy, this is regarding putting some better signage on the building, so when people come in, they can find them better. So, I don't know how to add to this list right now, but it sounds like the lighting is kind of topical because of the event. If we can do a temporary lighting project with just adding maybe some Christmas lights outside, or Cassidy, where you think that there needs to be more lighting during the dark days for the next few months, we can maybe just get some little, white lights and stuff to light up some bushes or shrubs or pathways as needed. So
That would be awesome.
Sally, what's the status on the light replacement?
I don't have a time frame. We're waiting for a part for each light. As soon as we get that one part, they will install it and they can switch over the lights.
Okay.
A couple of weeks ago, they said it was 3 to 4 weeks out, so we're coming up on
That's right.
week.
Okay.
So by the end of the month, I hope the lights should be working.
Okay, great.
And then the old ones will be removed at that point.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, we can move on to section 6, discussion items. We don't have any on this meeting. Section 7A, the foundation report. Frank?
Walt, you want to start? I'll follow up with a couple of things.
Oh, there is no report because we had our last meeting before, that is of the foundation, before we had our last Park and Rec. So as far as the actual meeting, there's nothing. So why don't you update, Frank?
Okay, I met with Marion Oster. We went over a few things. The determination was made that the fountain will be an object, but it will not be a functional fountain. And therefore we'll punt on that. The other thing is that the foundation is going to go ahead and replace the locks that are in the bride's room on all the cabinets, so that we can utilize those to put historical items in. That includes some china and some linens and things like that from the Palmers, the Holbrooks, and we will replace that within a couple months, get it done, so that will be replaced. But beyond that, that's all I have.
And so just to be clear, the foundation doesn't plan on replacing refurbishing the fountain.
Doesn't appear that it'll be cost effective. It will be very expensive. The fountain is in relatively structurally good shape, but the water part is what's going to make it tough. So,
Yeah, so
we are not going to destroy the fountain or throw it away. We're going to find another place to put it, and maybe it'll be a succulent garden.
if I can just add to that, I think they determined that it didn't make sense to use the historic fountain as a fountain, but it would in fact be recommended as kind of an art piece somewhere, and they'll do something with it, and that needs to be proposed. That doesn't take away the value of having a fountain out there when we in the course of the circulation plan. I think that the actual concept of a fountain was discussed in the circulation plan, but I'm not sure that it's included in the actual design. And when we see the next iteration of the design, which is getting pretty close to the end of it, I think we should recommend that it include an upgrade to have the fountain, but that will have to be discussed.
So the committee did pick a fountain, and just in case this happened where they weren't going to refurbish it. But
Okay.
yeah, I think it would be good to include it. I mean, the water and electricity are still working at that location.
Right.
The cost of the fountain was around $500, so I don't see why we couldn't include it in the scheme of the whole project.
I would recommend then, Sally, that maybe for the next meeting, you send some whatever images you have of that fountain that was selected around to the committee so everybody can see what it looks like.
My concern is a $500 fountain is probably going to last 500 hours or maybe 500 days. First time one of the little darlings climbs on it to take a selfie on top of the fountain, that'll be the end of it. So I'm not sure that unless you really invest in a structurally sound piece of equipment, it's gonna last very long. But that's my personal.
Can somebody hear me? I don't know.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I agree totally, and I'm even willing to put up a couple of $1,000s to make sure whatever we get there is representative of the Atherton names and of all the Holbrook Palmer Park people administrators that have loved the park.
Yeah,
Something.
so I think we
was
should
there
start
before.
by Sally sending around what was selected, and we can look for, we can evaluate it and upgrade it and to find something that's appropriate. It sounds like we have, I
You're
think it
right.
won't be hard to raise money for it.
No, and you know what? It should be something that's and works.
Yeah.
Right. The only other thing from the foundation side, I have sent materials to Sally. She hasn't gotten them yet, but I have found some historical documents that for each one of you just to read. It's nothing involved in anything other than history, but it's articles written by a couple of things written by Olive Holbrook, who grew up there, and some discussions on the original Elmwood and their home in San Francisco and stuff, just for edification, nothing more than that. So you should get it soon enough whenever Sally gets the package that I sent to her. So.
Great, thank you. That sounds really interesting.
Okay.
Can I ask anyone who's on the call who's not speaking to put yourself on mute? Thank you. Okay, foundation report, going on to 7B, the parks going on report. Sally?
So what happened this month, or last month, was pretty big. We moved out of the park and the trailers are now removed.
Wow.
So that's great. So MC did a lot of help with the move and getting the trailers ready. That took up most of their time. We received the donated bench. I just ordered a plaque for it, so that should be coming in the next few weeks, and then I will let the donator know, and they'll have a little ceremony once we place the bench. The memorial tree was planted. They had a nice ceremony.
Where's the memorial bench gonna go? I'm just curious.
John, he was open to a location, so I was gonna walk the park and try to figure out a good location. If you have any suggestions, I'm open.
I don't have any. I was just curious where it was gonna go.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks like a beautiful bench.
Yeah, and then there's just a little metal plaque that will be installed on it. Because there was a lot of cleanup done around the chief's house, it really opened it up for having no privacy. So they're planting around 35 bushes around that area. So that they've been working on that this month. Trailers were removed. One of the main things in the park, just a lot of leaf cleanup constantly. So today, me and Robert, the public works director, we met with Saviano, the tennis company, out on the courts. So the goal would be to try to get something in contract in January, and then they would start work in February of March. So when we were meeting out there today, it was noticed that they're gonna need access. So that means we can't do the 2 front courts. We would have to do the 3 back courts at one time, because they're gonna use the front court to have to get back to the back courts. So I'm just giving you the information. So with the asphalt overlay, it will take a month. So we will have to close down the back 3 courts for a month. I've already alerted Michael Jessup of this. And then to have access, we will have to close down another court for a week. So it will be a little disruptive, but these courts are supposed to last my lifetime once it's done. So,
we don't know how old you are, Sally, so, so that can mean a lot
let
of
me
things.
tell you, I'm older than you think I am.
Okay.
So that's good news. It's moving along. It's slow, but it's moving along. And then once we would get the 3 courts done and we're happy with them, then we would do the other 2, and they can just access the other 2 easily. So
Are they being all done the same year, or like 3 this year, 2 next year?
it just depends on how we want to, it depends on, if we have to go out for a bid, it just depends on how fast that moves. But if we can just, if the amount is under where we can just do informal, then we could just do it right after we could just do another contract right after we finish the other ones. I don't want to tell you because we have enough money.
Yeah.
But we don't want to shut down the 5 courts at one time for a month.
Yeah.
We haven't
gotten a bid yet then.
No, but we might be able to do piggyback. We have to talk to the attorney and see what we can do. But the idea is to bring something to council in January.
Okay.
I can't give you too many more details because we just talked it through today. So I don't want to tell you exactly.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I was just curious.
What would Michael prefer? Jessup?
Well, I alerted him today about the change to the back 3 courts and about how we would have to shut it down for a month, and he seemed fine with it. We can't do the front 2 courts because if we do the front 2 courts, then they would have to drive all over the new courts and take down the fence to get to the back courts, and then so it doesn't make any sense.
What I meant was, what does he think about piggybacking? And would he think it's best in the wintertime when obviously his demand is much less? And if we could do it, as you say, if we could do February and March, would that be what he would prefer? I think we ought to get his views on this.
All the direction I received is to do it as soon as possible, and that's as soon as possible. So we can always push it back, but
that wasn't my comment. My comment was, be great to do it as soon as possible, which you said, I think, was February. And therefore, does Michael want to go through the summer season before the other 2 and then do the next one next winter? Or would he like, because those front ones are not in great shape. So maybe he would want to shut down then those, use the other 3 and get that done. So we should ask him.
Yeah. I always check in with Michael no matter what we do. I just don't, obviously things don't happen very fast, so there's a lot of check-ins. But that's a good reminder. I'm trying to think of anything else. Does anybody have any questions?
I saw some work on the eucalyptus tree next to the rail track today.
Oh yeah, so today they started removing the eucalyptus tree by the Caltrains. It's a really large eucalyptus tree. It has a conch at the bottom, which means that a lot of the trunk is decayed. And then the whole top of the tree, if you walk further back from the tree, is dying. And so that's not a good sign. It's a huge eucalyptus tree. It's right near the Caltrain. If something happened where the limbs were dropping or the tree fell over, it would not be good. So that tree is getting removed.
Okay.
Is that being done by Caltrain?
No, it's on our property, so it's being done by West Coast Arborists. That's our tree company.
And then I noticed that one of the bench, the kind of semicircular bench next to the near the dumpsters is yellow taped off. Is there a reason why? Is it failing or something?
Yeah, so it's structurally not sound. So it's on their work list, but they need to before we can reopen it.
They need to do what before they can?
Yeah, they need to fix it. They need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on their work list. I did meet with the company that we're using to provide the trees and plant them. His name is Ted. He's with Tree Movers in Mountain View. And so he's able to source all the trees we want, even the median trees. We have some big median trees that we're going to plant pretty soon. However, he was not able to find a Magnolia denudata, but instead he recommended the Wada's Memory. It's another magnolia that has a lot of white blooms and it's fragrant. So I wanted to just throw that out there that we don't really want to use another company. So it's recommended that we just go with this magnolia that he can find.
How big a box?
I'm pretty sure this was a 36-inch box.
I have used tree movers and I find them to be very good.
Yes,
I'd go with his recommendation.
okay. I researched it. I've never heard of it, but it seems like it's
No,
beautiful. It's fragrant. So
yeah.
I think that's, so,
I know the tree. There are several very large Juarez memories up in the San Francisco Botanical Garden. But they're very old. It's not super fast growing, but it's a good tree, and a 36-inch box tree will be a good size.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think that's all for the park goings on. I'm trying to
Great.
think of any projects. We ordered a stove for the carriage house, but it's on back order. And we did find somebody and we're on the schedule for the AC heat to get fixed. And I keep checking in with them to make sure we get on the schedule, but it hasn't happened yet. But those are both in the works. Cassidy, are there any other issues?
No, not that I can think of. We haven't used the kitchen in the carriage house, so that's good to know that the stove will be having. But yeah, no, that should be all good.
I said stove, but I meant it's a commercial cooktop. We still have 2 stoves in there, but they're pretty old. So maybe in the future we can think about getting a nicer stove in there once we get the cooktop. Yeah, okay, that's the end of my report.
Great, thank you so much. Moving on to section 7C, the park event booking for December.
So Cassidy sent me this list this month. You can go through and look at it. There was was that today? There was a big meeting today in the park.
There was an event today. I believe they had the pavilion and the main house, and then another one tomorrow in the main house.
Great.
So yeah, you can just look through that, and then the last thing is the revenue and the expenditures report, which I will talk to finance about the actual year for the 2021, see if it's supposed to be 21-22, and then I will have them include the actual budget for 2021.
Great, thank you. Just a quick question on the
Excuse
park
me,
event
do you mean
booking.
the actual budget or you'll have the actual figures?
I'll have
For
I'll have them do the actual for 2021.
Right.
And then I'll have make sure that in the furthest column to the right, that's supposed to be 21-22, not 2021.
We got
Yeah.
that.
Right. And Sally, my guess is that there's just some classification errors between what's social, what's meeting, and what's class fees. Just the numbers are wacky.
I will get more clarification because I don't know what category the photography is in, and I'll get some more clarification.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe we should just break that down into photography and even the drone, so we know where the money's coming from.
Is that Mama's?
Mary Lou, if you could put yourself on mute.
Sorry.
Okay, moving on to section 7D, individual committee member comments. I can start. Thanks guys for handling the meeting last time. I got the flu pretty bad and was totally out for a couple weeks, but wasn't COVID, but I read through the meeting notes. I didn't see a video of the meeting go up on the site, but thanks for taking care of of everything. Everything looks great. So we can just go down the list real quick. Rick, do you have anything else? Oh, you're on.
No, I'm good, and I've got to go. I've got a conflict.
Okay. Yeah, we can see the sun setting.
Yeah.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Well,
No, I was going to ask Rick, but since he's going.
Well, go ahead, Walt. I haven't left.
whether we are looking at Zoom meetings for the indefinite future, given what's happening.
It's a month-to-month basis, and for right now, the answer is yes, we are. We don't there's no plan to hold the meetings in person, but it's really a month-to-month, so it could change in January. I mean, it could change in January and then it'll be effective in February.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Yep. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Greg.
All right, take care. Thank you.
I just want to send a reminder that the meeting won't be the first Wednesday. It will be January 12th.
Okay, thank you. Taylor?
I think I'm good. I don't have anything to add right now.
Okay, thank you very much for joining. Alex?
Not this month. Don't have anything else to add.
Hey, Frank? Anything else?
Well, how about our great celebration of the holidays, which we didn't get to do? But anyway, happy holidays to everybody, and thanks for all your efforts.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Cassidy, for joining. You're always welcome to join our meetings. You can be a fly on the wall. They're public meetings. And then feel free to comment, at the comment sections as needed, but you're always welcome to see what's going on. So, and then the minutes and everything are posted on the website. It's an easy way to see what's going on. And regarding the lighting, I know it's probably it's soon, we need it sooner than later. So work with Sally and she can reach out to me with any ideas and we can get something done.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
And if I missed anyone else, Sally, do you have anything else?
Just happy holidays and yes, good work.
Happy holidays, everyone. Look forward to seeing you all in the park next year, I guess. And well, I guess it's still another month left. We have December. So is December a quiet month? Or
This is December.
This is
isn't it?
December.
Oh my God. Still getting over my cold, guys. December. Wow. All right. Take care. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move.
Second.
Excellent. All right. Take care, everyone. Happy
All right,
holidays.
kids.
Bye.
Holidays.
Bye.
Bye.